It was built to keep out invading Mongol hordes. But in modern China, the Great Wall has been facing a very different invasion, with hordes of the new middle class jumping in their cars to mount weekend assaults. Even these Beijing 20-somethings, more attuned to Western music than Chinese history, can't get enough of it.
我觉得长城就是中国吧，中国可能你们外国人知道中国，最知道中国的就是长城，所以我觉得在这个地方有晚会非常有意义。长城对中国历史，长城可以说在中国历史悠久，要象征中国的历史文化。
But some fear China is loving the wall to death, with mass tourism and mass development running out of control. The SARS epidemic has tempered this new invasion, but only temporarily. The long-term threat could be greater than anything the wall has faced in centuries.
I think it's in very, very grave danger. There's no doubt about that. But it's making Chinese people believe this is going to be difficult.
Forget the tourist brochures, this is what the Great Wall is really like. Abandoned, overgrown, ruined, but still utterly extraordinary. After so many centuries, it's no longer something imposed on the landscape, it's become part of it. But much of what makes it unique is disappearing, falling victim to nature, to people, to economics. After enduring so long as a barrier to keep out invaders, the Great Wall itself is in need of rescue. The damage can already be seen on every section of the wall close to towns and villages. Crass, unplanned developments encroaching on its edge, local farmers erecting toll booths to charge money from hikers, and everywhere rubbish and graffiti. British expatriate William Lindesay heads the preservation group International Friends of the Great Wall.
Yeah, you can always find bits hidden away here. You know those tricks.
He fears its greatest wonder, the Wild Wall near Beijing, is in danger of being lost.
If you were to come out to wilderness sections of wall that are just 2 or 3 hours drive from Beijing, in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, these will not be wilderness sections of wall. They will be rebuilt. Development will have encroached to very, very close distances to the wall itself. And what we will have lost are cultural landscapes. The genuine, authentic history of China will be lost.
William Lindsay's obsession with the wall began 16 years ago, when he became the first foreigner since the Communist Revolution to try to walk it. He covered almost 5,000 kilometres before officials decided he was a spy and expelled him. Returning in the mid-90s to marry a Chinese woman he'd met in his travels, he found the first signs of the emerging threat.
I was returning to sections of wall I'd seen in '87, and I sensed a difference, an aesthetic difference. I would see writing on bricks, and I would see garbage, particularly lots of film boxes. And I was distressed because I had come to view the stones of the Great Wall as being sacred.
Much of what's called the Great Wall has already disappeared or been damaged beyond repair. Over 22 centuries, 16 different walls were built to defend the empire from nomadic invasion. Vast sections were made from rammed earth and soon fell victim to the elements. But the jewel in the crown, the Ming Dynasty wall, was built to last. Most of it survived intact after it was abandoned 350 years ago. But China's opening economy exposed it to the commercial masses.
Protection comes low down on the list of priorities. It's use, but not protection. I would even go so far as saying the majority of use is outright abuse.
This century-old panorama in his study shows a section near the village of Vandaling outside Beijing, the wall deserted except for a passing camel train. We visited the same section just before SARS hit, and tens of thousands of tourists had beaten us to it, brought in by the coachload and disgorged at the restaurants and souvenir stalls. The only camel was for souvenir snaps. The coach stops are now almost devoid of foreign tourists, but the locals are already coming back. And with development marching at full pace towards the 2008 Olympics, it may not be long before the crowds are even bigger than before. Vandaling is where most people get their first and only glimpse of the Great Wall. It's not to everyone's taste, and on a bad day can feel more like Disneyland than an ancient icon. But at least it can accommodate millions of visitors without doing any more damage. The real problem is in the unspoilt sections near Beijing, because the message you can make money from the wall is spreading as far and wide as the wall itself. At Wangwachang near Beijing, local farmers have effectively taken over the wall, erecting toll gates to charge visitors for access. It's an entrepreneurial free-for-all, and our camera is not welcome. Crude graffiti painted on the towers tells visitors where they can and can't go. Makeshift ladders to lookouts are another source of revenue for poor villagers. While the exploitation is still small-scale, a hotel built alongside the wall is a sign of things to come. The Beijing municipality has more than 600 kilometres of Ming Dynasty wall just waiting to be developed.
I'm sure they would resort to introducing unsuitable attractions beside the wall or in the valley below the wall, and that would further damage the cultural landscape of the Great Wall. The scenario is very simple. I have pictures of Wild Wall from 100 years ago, from 80 years ago. I go back to those sites now and I see a wall transformed. From the tourist angle, those sites are necessary, but to have these places right along the wall would be an absolute disaster.
William Lindesay and his wife formed International Friends of the Great Wall to lobby for its protection. While he's provided a Western sense of environmental campaigning, most of the lobbying comes from like-minded Chinese. Their aim is to press the authorities to stop vandalism and overdevelopment, to protect not just the wall, but the land around it too.
These stones here, these stones came from the valleys here below. If we brought archaeologists in and we spent enough time investigating, we could find the quarries. We could find the places where the bricks in the tower behind me were baked. So that was the construction base of the wall down there. So it's a blood relationship between the wall and its surroundings. And we want to promote protection of the wall as a landscape.
For centuries, peasants along the length of the wall have relied on it for daily survival. Villages like this one were built from its bricks. As a young man, Lao Chung would make daily treks to cart back stones in a homemade backpack to build his house.
那我背砖那会儿啊，那就30来岁，我上城讲靠西面背的，来访牛那背的砖。我那会儿也不知道，要知道我也不背这砖。
But these days, Lao Chung has a different reason to climb the mountain. The group Friends of the Great Wall employs him as a ranger. His job is to clean the wall near his village and to encourage others to respect it.
我一定要把城垃圾捡好，捡好了对国家对做贡献。中国这有的人呢，他是少一部分， 他走一会儿，你刚讲过去，他又扔那儿了。走一会儿，假如你往东走，他往西走，又扔了。你还得来回一天得腾的，你得跑几趟的。有的他说我不扔，他也扔，往边跟他扔，你就得下去绕，把里落地得绕回去，还得捡。你们走底下啊，上走。
As we talked, some young hikers appeared in the hillside. Lao Chung was quick to acquaint them with his countryside code.
就都压那，待会儿给我捡上。你们喊点走啊，慢点走，有陡地方啊。
The reaction isn't always polite.
有一个人呐，给我好几个人给我吵。他说我说他结俩面了，我说他说啥呢？没有罚款单，你罚不了我。他说你不修厕所，我哪儿拉你管不了我。
Once a month or so, the group Friends of the Great Wall mounts small symbolic expeditions. Today, it's a 3-hour hike through the forest to a Ming Dynasty tower, accompanied by Chinese media and sympathetic officials.
We aim to identify problems, record them, and report these problems to high officials. And we want to really tell the state of the wall as it truly is.
It takes just an hour's foraging to collect about 30 kilograms of rubbish. Cleanups like this are a band-aid solution to the problems of the wall. But it's the start of a slow process to change attitudes as old as the wall itself, and to protect an icon that has stood for 2 millennia from the peril of a modern world.